Major political drama in Delhi as the police arrest the president of the Youth Congress and 7 others in connection with last week's shirtless protest staged by the youth wing of the Congress at the AI Impact Summit in the presence of foreign dignitaries. The police and the BJP allege it was a conspiracy to malign India's image and incite riots inspired by Nepal's Gen Z protests. Rahul Gandhi defends the youth wing's action, saying the right to protest is fundamental in a democracy and the government is stifling dissent. The Congress and its ally, the DMK, seem to be facing seat-sharing troubles in poll-bound Tamil Nadu. Reports say the Congress has sought at least 35 seats. The DMK disagrees, says only 2 or 3 more seats than the 25 seats allocated in the last election. A medical emergency and an attempt to save a life result in an enormous tragedy for a Jharkhand family. An air ambulance they were travelling in crashes barely 20 minutes after takeoff from Ranchi, leaving all 7 on board dead. The family had borrowed lakhs of rupees for the air ambulance and medical treatment of their loved one, who had recently suffered serious burn injuries. The Union Cabinet moves to rename Kerala as Keralam, backing a resolution pushed by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan ahead of the State Assembly polls. The new name, the government says, would reflect the state's Malayalam identity. Canada moves to revoke the citizenship of 2611 mastermind Tahavvur Hussain Rana ahead of Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to India. This signals a reset in India-Canada ties after the strain in relations under Justin Trudeau. It's the 4th anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war. 4 years after Russia invaded Ukraine, Europe's deadliest war grinds on. Cities lie in ruins. Over 15,000 civilians are dead and millions remain displaced. Moscow controls nearly 1/5 of Ukrainian territory and there is no end to the conflict in sight. A major blizzard hits the US East Coast, including New York, bringing record-breaking snow, causing disruptions for millions. More than 5,000 flights have been cancelled. Over 600,000 homes are enduring power outages, paralyzing the region. And actor Ranveer Singh gets interim relief as the Karnataka High Court halts any coercive action against him in the Kantara Deva mimicry row. The actor apologizes for hurting public sentiments. Hello and welcome to the Times of India. You're watching Headlines at 8 with me, Neha Khanna. Our top story. The Delhi police today arrested Indian Youth Congress National President Uday Bhanu Chib, marking the 8th arrest in connection with the shirtless protest during the AI Impact Summit last week. A case has been registered against Chib pertaining to rioting, criminal conspiracy, voluntarily causing hurt to deter a public servant from duty, obstructing a public servant in discharge of official functions, and willful disobedience of lawful orders. The police say Uday Bhanu Chib masterminded the protest that was staged by members of the Youth Congress on the 5th and final day of the AI Summit hosted at Bharat Mandapam in Delhi, where scores of foreign dignitaries, including heads of state and global tech leaders, were present. According to the police, the case is not being viewed as a routine protest, but as a deliberate attempt to malign India's image before global dignitaries attending the summit. The case has been transferred to the Delhi Police Crime Branch, with further investigation to be carried out by the interstate cell. The police, who have got his remand for 4 days, say they needed custody of the Youth Congress president in order to confront him with the other 7 members arrested so far. According to the arrest memo, anti-national slogans were raised and attempts were made to incite a riot during this protest. It also states that the Youth Congress chief, along with other co-conspirators, obstructed and assaulted police officials on duty. Chib's lawyer argued in court that he was neither present at the protest site nor issuing any instructions related to it. He then added, protests are common at international events. He said people outside are appreciating that India is a democracy where you can protest. The Delhi police told the court they suspect a larger conspiracy against the government, claiming that these protests had actually drawn inspiration from the recent Gen Z protests in Nepal that led to political upheaval and the ouster of the government in that country. The Congress struck back fiercely. Rahul Gandhi hailed the detained party workers as Babbar Sher comrades while defending the protest as a democratic right and accusing the government of silencing dissent. Union Minister Giriraj Singh lashed out at Rahul Gandhi, calling him mentally unstable. He said the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha might now turn up in parliament in his underwear. Earlier, the Youth Congress's shirtless protests escalated into a political war of words, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying the Congress was already naked, while Rahul Gandhi described the protest as a non-violent democratic act and a foundation of democracy.
बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं, आरएसएस के कार्यकर्ताओं, आप अपने प्रधानमंत्री के आंखों में देखो, आपको डर दिखेगा। पार्लियामेंट में नहीं आ पाए और कारण नारावाने नहीं थे, कारण एप्स्टीन था, कारण अदानी पर केस था। नरेंद्र मोदी जी, अहिंसा और लोकतांत्रिक विरोध देश की बुनियाद है। गांधी जी और भगत सिंह ने यह रास्ता दिखाया है, इससे आप इतना क्यों डरते हो? आप शर्म की बात करते हो, शर्म की बात मैं आपको बताता हूँ। आपने अमेरिका के साथ जो किया है, ये शर्म की बात। देश को आपने बेचा है। पहली शर्म की बात, जो यूएस के साथ आपने ट्रेड डील की है, जिसमें हिंदुस्तान को कुछ नहीं मिला और हमारा पूरा देश आपने अमेरिका को बेच दिया है। हमारे देश का डेटा दे दिया, किसानों को खत्म कर दिया, टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री बर्बाद कर दी। ये शर्म की बात। हम संविधान के लिए लड़ रहे हैं। कांग्रेस पार्टी के बब्बर शेरों कार्यकर्ताओं, आपको डरना नहीं है, एक कदम पीछे हटना नहीं है। डेवलपमेंट को
देखिए, लोकतंत्र के अंदर विरोध प्रदर्शन करने का अधिकार है और ये सरकार जब से आई है, जब से विरोध प्रदर्शन या इनको मतलब अगर कोई आईना दिखाने का काम करेगा, ये उसको बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाते। लेकिन अब आपका घड़ा भर गया है। अमेरिका से डील के बाद लोगों को समझ में आ गया है कि लोग करेंगे क्या। देश के अंदर जो माहौल है, उस माहौल के अंदर ये जो डराने का अंतिम प्रयास हो रहा है, लेकिन कांग्रेस के लोग डरेंगे नहीं।
क्या आप लोग सड़कों पर उतरेंगे इस गिरफ्तारी के खिलाफ, या कोई आप लोग रणनीति बना रहे हैं इसको लेकर? देखिए,
पार्टी जो है, जो निर्णय होगा इसके अंदर मंथन के साथ करेंगे और लड़ाई को लड़ेंगे। कोर्ट भी है, ऐसा थोड़ी ना है कि कोर्ट नहीं है, कोर्ट भी है, कोर्ट में भी जाएंगे, सब जगह लड़ेंगे।
लेकिन बार बार जो कहा जा रहा है कि देश की छवि खराब की गई, आपको
छवि तो आपने छोड़ी कहाँ है? छवि छोड़ी कहाँ है तुमने? घुटनों पर तो आ गए। रोज तुम्हें अमेरिका धमकाता है, बोल पाते नहीं हो आप, तो छवि कहाँ है आपकी? आप कहाँ के विश्व गुरु हो?
राहुल गांधी ने भारत को शर्मिंदा करने के लिए और बदनाम करने के लिए साजिश रची थी। परत दर परत अब वो बाहर आ रही है और ये कहना गलत नहीं होगा, ये राहुल गांधी कर रहे हैं देश को शर्मिंदा, और देश को शर्मिंदा करने के प्रयास में ये खुद परत दर परत नंगे होते जा रहे हैं।
Seat-sharing tensions may be rising in poll-bound Tamil Nadu, with reports suggesting that the Congress is pushing for at least 35 seats, while its ally, the DMK, seems to have signalled that it may only be willing to offer 2 or 3 more than the 25 seats allotted to the Grand Old Party in the 2021 Assembly elections. After high-level talks with Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's camp, Congress leaders reportedly pressed for a larger share of seats and greater representation in local bodies, while the DMK indicated it would consult its leadership before making any commitment. Behind closed doors, the bargaining has intensified. The Congress reportedly began with a demand for 41 seats, but softened stance later in exchange for more mayoral posts and assurance of a Rajya Sabha seat. DMK leaders argued The alliance has expanded with new partners, making cuts inevitable, and proposed retaining 25 seats while redistributing constituencies, including tougher seats for itself and easier ones for the Congress. The meeting with the DMK MP Kanimuri lasted 2 hours and was described as positive, even as negotiations remain delicate. The negotiations are unfolding amid pressure from a section of the state Congress leadership seeking a share in power. Stalin has publicly ruled out such an arrangement, saying it would not suit Tamil Nadu's political framework. Meanwhile, expelled AIADMK leader VK Shashikala has hinted at a political comeback, promising good news ahead of Jayalalitha's birth anniversary. With actor-turned-politician Vijay entering the electoral fray with his TVK party and alliances realigning the assembly election is shaping into a high-stakes, multi-cornered battle that could redefine power equations in Tamil Nadu. A medical crisis resulted in an enormous tragedy for a Jharkhand family on Monday when an air ambulance they were travelling in crashed barely 20 minutes after takeoff from Ranchi, leaving all 7 on board dead. The story is absolutely heart-rending. The family of the Jharkhand hotelier who was being rushed to Delhi in the air ambulance had borrowed lakhs for the chartered plane and his treatment at a hospital in the national capital. The journey to save a life ended in 7 deaths. The Beechcraft C-90 air ambulance, operated by Redbird Airways Private Limited, took off from Ranchi at around 7:11 p.m. It lost contact with the air traffic control about 20 minutes later. The plane crashed in a forest area in the Chhatra district, reportedly due to poor weather conditions. The 7 people on board who died in the plane crash include Sanjay Kumar Shaw, the patient who was being rushed to Delhi after a burn injury, his wife Archana Devi, relative Dhruv Kumar, Dr. Vikas Kumar Gupta, nurse Sachin Kumar Mishra, and pilots Captain Vivek Vikas Bhagat and Captain Savrajdeep Singh. Sanjay Shaw ran a hotel in Jharkhand's Latehar district. Last Monday, a short circuit in his hotel caused a fire and Sanjay was caught in the blaze. He suffered 65% burns and was being treated at a private hospital in Ranchi. When his condition did not improve, doctors referred him to Sri Gangaram Hospital in Delhi. Sanjay's condition ruled out a journey by road. So his family reached out to relatives and borrowed over 7 lakh rupees for an air ambulance. Some money was also kept aside for his treatment in Delhi. The family says the crash, which killed both Sanjay and his wife Archana, has left their 2 children orphans. They complained that if Ranchi had better medical facilities, Sanjay would never need to be airlifted. Bajrangi Prasad, the father of Dr. Vikas Kumar Gupta, who also died in the crash, says he sold all his land to make his son a doctor. Behind the headlines lie shattered families and dreams.
जी हमें जो इन्फॉर्मेशन मिला था कि कोई प्लेन क्रैश हुआ है तो हमने सोचा एयर एम्बुलेंस छोटा हेलीकॉप्टर जैसा कुछ होगा। तो जब हम लोग यहाँ आए देखे हैं तो ये एरिया काफ़ी इंटीरियर में है। आप देखो कच्चा ट्रैक भी यहाँ से 2 किलोमीटर तक तो कोई रोड ही नहीं है। उसके पीछे जो शुरू होता है तो वो पूरा कच्चा ट्रैक है, कोई 5 किलोमीटर का पैच। फिर देन उसके बाद फिर सिमरिया से 15 किलोमीटर के आसपास सिमरिया है। तो जब रात को यहाँ पहुँचे हम लोग तो तब यहाँ पे देखा तो यहाँ तो सब तो बचा तो कोई नहीं था, लाइव तो कोई था नहीं उसमें, लेकिन थे सब जो डेड थे तो उनको निकाला गया, रिट्रीव किया गया बॉडीज़ को इसमें से। तो क्योंकि मेटालिक बॉडी होती है तो उसमें फंसे हुए थे, पूरी बॉडी जो है उसमें इंटेंगल हो गए थे अंदर की तरफ ही पूरा। तो वो उनको फिर काफ़ी कठिनाई हुई उनको निकालने में। जब निकलते गए तो फिर हम उनको यहाँ से कैरी करने में 2 किलोमीटर वन साइड, हमारे पास स्ट्रेचर भी एक ही थी। रात को हम लोग अपने साथ एक स्ट्रेचर ले आए थे SSB की, तो उसी के साथ हमने फिर इनको रेस्क्यू करके हम लोग जो उनको रिट्रीव करके बॉडीज़ को बाहर तक पहुँचाया है मेन रोड तक।
मेरा बेटा VIP मूवमेंट में एयर एम्बुलेंस चलाता था, कितनों का जान बचाया, आज खुद चला गया।
कल आखिरी बार कब बात हुई विकास से आपकी?
हमसे बात नहीं हुई थी, अपनी मम्मी से बात हुई थी कि दिल्ली से फ़ोन किया था कि मम्मी मैं आज हो सके तो रांची आऊँगा। फिर शाम में बात नहीं हुई।
Ahead of Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's first and highly anticipated visit to India, the Canadian government has reportedly started proceedings to revoke the citizenship of 2611 Mumbai terror attack mastermind Tahavur Hussain Rana. Prime Minister Carney is scheduled to visit India on the 26th of February, and Ottawa is looking to reset ties with New Delhi after bilateral relations came under enormous strain during his predecessor Justin Trudeau's government. Pakistan-born businessman Tahavur Hussain Rana is currently in custody in India, where he is awaiting trial on charges related to the Mumbai terror attacks carried out by Pakistan-based terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba. 166 people were killed by the Pakistan-based terrorists in the horrific 2008 attack. Canadian publication Global News has reported that Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, has communicated to Rana that it intends to strip him of his Canadian citizenship, which he obtained in 2001. The 65-year-old had immigrated to Canada in 1997. The Canadian government's move to revoke Rana's citizenship may not be based on the terrorism charges against him. In its notice, the IRCC stated that Rana's citizenship was granted based on misrepresentation of facts. The department alleged that he provided false information regarding his residency in Canada while applying for citizenship in 2000. The department accused him of a serious and deliberate deception, stating that his failure to disclose prolonged absences from Canada, as he had spent most of that time in the US, led authorities to wrongly conclude that he met the residency requirements for Canadian citizenship. On 10th April 2025, the National Investigation Agency, India's top anti-terror agency, formally arrested Rana after his extradition from the United States. A simple, innocuous photograph of a queue outside an Irish food bank has triggered a wave of racist attacks against Indians on social media, once again highlighting the growing xenophobia faced by the Indian community in Ireland. This particular photograph, showing students waiting outside a student pantry, accompanied an article in the Irish Times about how the student-operated food bank was struggling to cope with growing demand amid Ireland's deepening cost of living crisis. The report stated that the food bank at the University of Galway was forced to turn away hundreds of students each week due to overwhelming demand, despite distributing almost 500,000 euros worth of food last year. While the report highlighted a growing cost of living crisis in Ireland, social media users chose to focus instead on just one part of the image accompanying it: the presence of Indian students in that queue outside the food bank. The whole photograph shows students from different racial backgrounds waiting outside the student pantry. However, social media users zeroed in only on the part of the photo that shows students of South Asian heritage, unleashing a wave of hostile, offensive and blatantly racist remarks targeting Indians. One ex-user wrote, "Is it my imagination? But are most, if not all, of the students in that queue foreign? If they are mostly foreign, then perhaps that explains the numbers turning up for free food. In order to study here, aren't foreign students supposed to be able to support themselves?" Another user wrote, "Deport Indians, stop universities selling places to foreigners, and Irish people who need it can get the services they require." A third user wrote, "How come it's only Indian foreign students in the line and not other international student groups?" Another ex-user wrote, "Immigrants are natural thieves and will take money or food even if they have plenty of their own." Another user, who claimed to be an Irish expat, wrote, "Begin the deportation. Close thy heart to ones who are not our own, as now our children suffer." Another person on X, without providing any evidence, claimed they loot every service that the country operates using any sort of trust-based system. To them, it's a life hack. Fact is, the cost of living crisis in Ireland has been worsening rapidly. A law student, Ali, has been quoted by the same newspaper as saying that without the food bank, there were times she would have to go hungry to pay rent, and therefore the service helps a lot. The pantry works in partnership with Food Clout, an Irish not-for-profit social enterprise, redistributing surplus food from supermarkets. The report says weekly demand for the student pantry far outweighs supply. Students access the service online with a lottery system, deciding who gets a time slot. The online backlash comes against the backdrop of a rise in racial violence against Indians in Ireland last year. In one of the most brutal assaults in July 2025, an Indian man was left bleeding in Dublin. He was stabbed, robbed and stripped of his trousers when a group of young men attacked him in the street as he was walking to a nearby temple. He was falsely accused, both before and after the attack, of inappropriate behavior around children. Authorities probing the incident said it was a potential hate crime. In another attack, a 32-year-old Indian origin man suffered a fractured cheekbone and multiple injuries after being attacked by 6 teenagers near his Dublin apartment. Last month, the Embassy of India in Ireland had advised Indian nationals to take precautions for their personal security and avoid deserted areas at odd hours. Today marks exactly 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. 4 years after Russia unleashed its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Europe's deadliest war since World War II continues to scar the continent. Cities such as Bakhmut, Toretsk, and Vovchansk lie in ruins. Thousands of hospitals and power facilities have been hit and vast areas remain mined. The United Nations has verified more than 15,000 civilian deaths, while millions remain displaced or living as refugees across Europe. On the battlefield, Moscow controls nearly 1/5 of Ukrainian territory and continues its push to dominate the Donetsk region, while Kiev refuses concessions which it says would invite future aggression. President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged tens of thousands of Ukrainian military deaths, while independent estimates suggest Russian losses may run into hundreds of thousands as well. Diplomatic efforts have stalled despite multiple talks, and the war has hardened into a grinding stalemate defined by attrition, drones, and artillery. The conflict has reshaped both nations. Ukraine's economy was devastated and now relies heavily on Western aid, while Russia's war-driven growth has slowed under sanctions and falling energy revenues. At home, the Kremlin has intensified repression, prosecuting dissent and tightening control over society, even as returning veterans and wartime pressures strain communities. With Western backing sustaining Kiev and partners like Iran, North Korea and China bolstering Moscow, the war has evolved into a wider geopolitical contest, and its end is still nowhere in sight. 4 years of war in Ukraine has brought seismic evolution to the world, to the nature of warfare, the balance of global powers, and to European security. For Ukraine, the war has been a curse to survive and adapt long enough to spare Europe's borders from Russia's forces and absolve its allies from springing into greater action. It's the Ukrainians in this fight who wish most urgently the war would really end tomorrow. It's a cruel paradox. Many in the West also wish the war would stop because of its cost to their defense budgets and heating bills. Yet, it's the West's lack of spending of material support for Kiev that has condemned Ukraine to fight on. US President Donald Trump's dismissal of decades of norms in negotiation have marked a new, disruptive approach, and at present the results are scant. A red carpet for Putin, who faces a war crimes indictment in Alaska, some tough sanctions on Russian oil, 2 patchy short ceasefires limited to energy infrastructure, emotional roller coasters for baffled European allies, and the persistent drumbeat of threats against Kiev if it does not compromise. But no peace in 24 hours as Trump once boasted, or in 100 days, or even a year after he assumed office. Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio even admitted at this month's Munich Security Conference that the US does not know if Russia really wants peace. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has made a plea to Donald Trump, saying he wants the US president, to quote him, to stay on our side. Speaking at the presidential palace in Kiev on the eve of the 4th anniversary of the war, Zelensky said the United States is far too big and too important to walk away from the conflict, and he hopes that Trump will back Ukraine as it fights back against Russia. Asked if he believes Trump is putting enough pressure on Putin, Zelensky clearly said no. Zelensky acknowledged that Ukrainians are exhausted by the conflict, but giving in to Putin's demands is simply not an option, he said. We can't just give him everything he wants because he wants to occupy us. If we give him all he wants, We will lose everything. All of us. People will have to run away or be Russian. As the war enters its fifth year, trilateral peace talks involving Ukraine, Russia and the United States have not yet led to a breakthrough. Zelensky says security guarantees, especially the issue of how Ukraine's allies would react if Russia invaded Ukraine again in the future, remain a sticking point. Trump wants Zelensky to sign a peace agreement with Russia and a deal with the US and European nations that gives Ukraine its security guarantees all in one go in a big ceremony marking the end of the war. But Zelensky is adamant that security guarantees must be agreed and ratified by the US Congress first. He said this would give the Ukrainian people the confidence that they could rely on their allies in the future because they have been let down too many times in the past. Speaking about another thorny issue, Zelensky said Ukraine is willing to freeze the war at the current front lines, but the Ukrainian military will not withdraw from the areas of the eastern Donetsk region that are still under its control. Russia is demanding that Ukraine relinquish the roughly 20% of the region that is still under Kiev's control, including the fortress belt of industrial cities, railways and roads that form the backbone of Ukraine's defense and supply the front lines. 4 years on, the devastating war still rages on, even as the world continues to hope and pray for an end to a conflict that has set the entire international community on edge. That's all the time we have on this edition of Headlines at 8. Thanks for watching. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow.